Good evening and welcome to the Faye Kircher Public Speaking Contest for Spring 2025. My name is Dr. Stephen Melling. I'm a teaching professor in communication and journalism, and I'm also the director of the oral communication program here, overseeing all of these classes that these great students are representing tonight. Our contest is named for Faye Kircher. Faye Kircher taught at UMKC in public speaking for a number of years. You can find out more about her in the back of the program, which is available through our QR code up on the screen, and you might have seen it by the doors as well. But our event tonight showcases the best speakers in our Fundamentals of Effective Speaking and Listening class, which is just a long, fancy name for the public speaking class. So let me give you some numbers. We got 18 sections of the class, and that's around 350 students total. Each instructor was invited to nominate one student, so 18 students in total. Then we had preliminaries last week and narrowed it down to 4. So tonight, out of that pool of 350 total students, we have the 4 best speaking, which is a pretty big deal. We'll have some small scholarships that are given out tonight. The top speaker will walk away with $300 and everybody else with $150. I want to introduce our speakers in just a moment, but first I want to recognize the judges that will be helping us pick the winners tonight. So first we have Sadie Billings. Sadie Billings works in academic success and mentoring, and she works with the Summer Bridge program. Next we have Janie Stevens. Janie Stevens is the director of undergraduate admissions here at UMKC. And then we have Elizabeth Montalongo. Elizabeth Montalongo works in the Block School as an academic program coordinator. So they all work here at UMKC. And I'm proud to say they also all graduated from the Department of Communication and Journalism, where I'm on faculty. So it's great to have their leadership here and to have known them since they were undergraduates. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the students now, and we'll be hearing first from Lacey Broad. So, if the crew's ready for you, we're ready for you.
Halfway through the month of December in 2012, Adam Lanza entered his old elementary school. With an AR-15 rifle in hand, he proceeds to do the unthinkable, shooting and killing 6 adults and 20 children ages 7 and under. Yes, this is as horrific as it sounds, with the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting being the second most deadly in all of American history. We've seen events like these happen all over the national news. The same story, the same type of perpetrator, and the same tragic ending. Yet, nothing ever seems to be truly done about it, because despite these widespread occurrences, nobody ever believes that it has the possibility of happening to them. In 2014, a shooting in Oregon. The year after, Paul Barrett had written an academic article on the subject, quoting President Obama in his thoughts on the tragedy, where he said, "This country has to do some soul searching on this. This is becoming the norm. Our levels of gun violence are off the charts. There is no advanced, developed country on earth that would put up with this." Through this speech, I hope to show you that immediate action is needed in order to prevent school shootings, and how having a comprehensive approach involving greater social awareness, supportive school environments, and stronger gun control policies can help achieve that. Everything we need to do this is right in front of us. We just have to know where to look. Within the article written by Philip Levines in 2024, we are told that in the 20 years following the 1999 Columbine shooting, it has been estimated that there have been 180,000 students who have been exposed to a school shooting that happened during school hours and having had caused at least one fatality. Not only do these events strike fear and sorrow through the American people, but have become such an issue that it has begun to embed itself within our reputation as a country, with the world recognizing our issues with gun violence. And so, if the world can see it, why can't we seem to grasp the severity of the issue? It's very likely that you'd be able to recognize some of the most publicized school shootings, such as Sandy Hook or Columbine. Yet, I doubt that you'd be able to recognize some of the lesser known ones, like Reynolds High School or Central Visual and Performing Arts High School. Like Central Visual and Performing Arts High School. According to the Division for Emotional and Behavioral Health, we are told that within the short time frame of 2013 to 2019, only 7 years, there had been 549 school shootings, having caused 129 fatalities and 270 injuries. Now let's look back at one of the schools that I just mentioned, Central Visual and Performing Arts High School. This school is in St. Louis, a city that I grew up in, with an atmosphere much like here in Kansas City. In 2022, a 15-year-old girl and a teacher were killed before the shooter was fatally shot by the police. While this was happening, I had been no more than 20 minutes away at my own school, sitting in a classroom. Before the news articles had even come out that day, it had spread like wildfire to my school, with people hoping and praying that those who got hurt were just not the people that they knew. Oftentimes, people only begin to care about issues such as these when it has the possibility to directly affect them. But by the time that it gets to that point, it's already too late. It's uncomfortable and unsettling to confront these issues. But when the statistics begin to prove that something so horrific could happen to someone that you know, that's when it's concrete that a change needs to be made. Prevention of the issue needs to begin with an increase of social awareness in the people around us. Oftentimes, the signs that a shooting is going to occur happen right in front of our faces, yet they're left completely unnoticed. To recognize is to prevent. And so when you notice that somebody is beginning to act differently, it's important that you note that down, whether you're close with this person or not. According to the 2024 article by Lauren Collins, we are told that prior, a shooter will typically exhibit a change in behavior that is observable and concerning. This includes, but is not limited to, depression, an increase in anger, a drawing to weapons and violence, or talk of self-harm. Going further, their intentions are typically communicated in some sort of way, either written or verbally, almost like a cry out for help or for somebody to stop them before they do something that they're going to regret. However, all it takes is for just one person to notice that can prevent a tragedy like this from occurring. In relation to this, school is often the place in which these signs are the most easily observed. With a supportive school environment, an incident can be stopped way before it even has the chance to start. It's true that it may be difficult for a school to be able to establish itself with all of the different kinds of support that its students may need, where in the best case scenario, we'd likely want to be hiring professionals, but we already have enough issues right now with the teacher shortage. But even just a small attempt at increasing the connection within school walls can make such a huge difference. According to the 2024 article by Lauren Collins, we are told that the establishment of a positive and trusting relationship between students and adults in school is a key factor in the prevention of school shootings. Within the 2024 article by Lauren Collins, we are told that within, oh my God. I'm sorry. Can I grab my notes? Would that be okay? I'm so sorry. However, even just a small attempt at increasing the connection between school walls can make such a huge difference. According to the 2024 article by Collins, the establishment of a positive and trusting relationship between students and adults in school can make such a huge difference because it's such an important factor in the prevention of school shootings. Now, this is helpful in two ways, both for someone that is having thoughts of bringing a gun to school or for somebody that suspects that somebody else will bring a gun to school. Being comfortable enough to be able to tell a trusted adult about the situation could sometimes mean life or death. However, a school prepared to help deal with and prevent trauma is beneficial in more ways than one. With this, students have the support that they need in a multitude of different areas, whether it be that they are facing issues at home or in the classroom. However, in relation to this, we cannot talk about school shootings without bringing up the controversial issue of gun control. Gun control acts need to be passed in order to prevent school shootings. Gun rights activists often put the blame on the person, quoting, "People kill people, guns do not kill people." And I agree, this is true. People do kill people. However, it must be stated that there are people in the world that do vile things. There always have been, and there always will be. It's almost impossible to develop a foolproof method of deciphering a possible shooter from the rest of the crowd as a way to limit school shootings. We can, however, limit the weapon. The weapon, such as a military-style rifle that makes it easily accessible to, for example, fire 154 bullets in less than 4 minutes, which is exactly what the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooter did, according to Stephen Hargarden from the National Institute of Health. As well as this, the separation that gun control has caused between American political parties has made it so that this is an issue in which we make no progress at all, where we often see more inaction being taken than action, despite the fact that both political parties have noticed that this is an issue in desperate need of fixing. Ego and differences in opinion overshadow the real problem of gun violence death. We are told that by the Division for Emotional and Behavioral Health that gun violence is the #1 cause of death among children in the United States. A sad reality that if we do not face will continue to cause the most deaths for children out of anything else in this entire country. However, if we do notice that the methods mentioned here today can help prevent school shootings, we can end the reign of terror that this has over our country. Today, I showed you that you can make change through the simple act of noticing, but also that pushing for supportive school environments and stronger gun control laws can help end school shootings within our country. Without the will of the people behind the cause, this issue stands still and moves nowhere. To truly make a change, it is you, along with others, that must make your voice heard.
Thank you, Lacey. And I just want to add that Lacey is a freshman from St. Louis, majoring in mathematics and statistics, and is a student of Professor Mike Schaefer. So our next speaker is Natalie Keys. So we'll welcome Natalie up here. She has slides, so we'll get those situated too.
Did you know the color blue is a relatively recent concept? Seriously, look up "Did we always have a word for blue?" and you will find a plethora of articles talking about how we didn't, with some proposing that societies without the name didn't even perceive the color, and others pushing back on that idea, saying that blue still existed, even without the label. But why does this matter? Well, because it always existed. And we know that because we see blue around us every day. We are taught in elementary school art class that blue is a primary color, that if you mix it with yellow, you get green. We see blue, we are taught blue, we understand blue. Now, this is not a speech about the color blue. I am not a color expert. What I am is a queer person who loves history and only heard about queer people and history throughout school once, when it was mentioned in 8th grade that they were also persecuted in the Holocaust, and half of the class turned to look at me. That's a true story. The history that we are taught in school shapes our perception of the world. Not being taught queer history leaves many queer students aimless in trying to find their place in the world. Thus, it is vital that queer history is taught throughout standard education. So, first, we are going to expand on why exactly history matters so much. Next, we will establish why exactly this, We will establish why this is an especially pressing issue, and finally go over the actions we can take. So, why do we care about history so much? Well, speaking as a history major, I desperately want to know everything. I know many STEM-focused people who speak of their interests in terms of wanting to understand how the world functions. I'm the same way. I want to know its stories. And the godmother of women's history, Gerda Lerner, agrees with me. In 1986, she wrote for OAH Magazine of History that, quote, here we go. History is necessary because human beings need to locate their individual lives in the chain of generations. It becomes a source for the formation of personal identity. History roots human beings on the continuum of the human enterprise, and in so doing, gives meaning to each individual life. I would like us to focus on her points about history being the source for identity. That concept was reflected in the experience of the survey participants in my Fundamentals of Speech class. 10 students replied in total, 6 of whom identified with the queer community in some way. All 6 stated that they did some level of research about the community outside of a school setting that did not provide it. 1 of the 4 non-queer respondents stated that they did. For those in community, knowing their history was a necessity that they had to learn outside of their place for learning. So, history is how we place ourselves in our present context. But is this even really an issue? Spoiler, yes. History, specifically the history of marginalized people, is consistently under threat. On July 1st of 2022, what is now infamous Don't Say Gay bill took effect. The bill prohibited any mention of queer identity from kindergarten through 3rd grade. And moving up, it had to be developmentally appropriate. This vague language made it difficult to determine what exactly was allowed. And these bills are not unique to Florida. These maps represent the states that prohibit queer education and those that guarantee it to varying degrees. These 2 maps come from the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, a human rights organization centered on protecting queer students. And according to their 2024 Inclusive Learning Report, as of just over a year ago, 15 states have prohibited queer education, while only 7 have guaranteed its presence. 48% of public school principals report parents opposing the rights of queer students, and 33% report efforts to ban books. Queer history is not only under threat in schools. On January 20th, the sitting president signed the presidential action defending women's and gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government. Which states? It is the policy of the United States to recognize 2 sexes, male and female. This caused federally funded organizations and websites to remove mention of trans people. The National Park Service page on Stonewall now only states LGBT person. We are watching history and identities, people, be erased. On May 6, 1933, the first book burning of Nazi Germany took place. The target was the Institute of Sexology, which the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust describes as an academic foundation devoted to the psychological research and advocacy of homosexual rights. They burned the entire library. Let me be clear. I am not saying that these laws are the exact same thing as Nazi Germany. What I am saying is to pay attention to what's destroyed. So, now understanding that queer history is often the target of erasure, what can we do to not only preserve it, but teach it? Unfortunately, there is no simple solution to combating the erasure of queer history. There are steps we can take, though. Every queer person surveyed stated that they want queer history taught right alongside general history in those classes. 5 out of 6 stated that they want an elective option. 5 out of 6 stated that teachers have some level of an obligation to be able to answer student questions, and 5 out of 6 said that the government should not have the right to censor education, even on the micro level of one classroom. There is a clear desire amongst queer people to be taught their history right alongside general history. Now, I am not stating that elementary age students need to be taught about sex, because that is not what queer history is. Rather, when discussing the civil rights marches of the 60s, we can mention the gay liberation movement of the 70s. In high school, we can have elective classes that go beyond that history because we did not come into existence in 1969 during the Stonewall riots. We can answer children's questions. I urge you, pay attention. Attend protests, call representatives, sign petitions, join organizations such as the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, and learn queer history. If there are children in your life, encourage them to be curious and accepting. They may grow up to realize that they themselves are queer, and they will need to be able to place themselves in a historical context. So, as we can see, there are a variety of actions that each of us can take to combating the erasure of queer history and enshrining it in education. Now, I understand that this speech has covered a lot, so let's center in on the key elements. It is necessary to teach queer history throughout school. We place ourselves in the world through a historical context. Queer history is often the target of erasure, which often correlates to persecution. We need to enshrine queer history by learning it, teaching it, and fighting for it. Now, I began this speech discussing the color blue. Queer people have existed from before we had a name for blue. And yet, we act like blue is a more consistent aspect of humanity by teaching it in kindergarten art class, where our queer students grow up not knowing that others like them exist. History is not simply old men. History is not dead. History is not static. History is not a textbook. History is what has shaped our existence. So teach our existence. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. And I'll add that Natalie is a freshman as well from Raymore, Missouri, majoring in history and is a student in my section of public speaking this semester. We welcome our next contestant, Reagan Parker, to the not stage, but the area. Reagan, whenever you're ready.
every year, I like to make a point of going to at least one Chiefs game in person. Because while I'm there, something pretty amazing happens. I'm not even really a football fan, but something of being surrounded by thousands of people all wearing the same red and gold, jumping, cheering, screaming, high-fiving strangers. I mean, I feel more Kansas City than ever before. And then afterwards, the game ends, everyone files out, the jerseys come off, and we return to that social norm of isolation, independence, and disconnection. And this is my concern. I believe that Americans today have lost their sense of shared identity with their friends, families, neighbors, and fellow citizens. We no longer feel like something unites us. And so, I'd like to discuss the historical importance of our communities, then talk about what has led to the loss of our communities and eroded our connection to one another through politics and social norms and policy. And then finally, I'd like to talk about how we can reclaim what we have lost. Because in our democracy, if we would like to have a stronger nation, we don't just need better markets or smarter politicians. We will need each other. We need to reclaim community as a force for connection, resilience, and democratic renewal. Economist Raghuram Regine defines 3 pillars that have created the national structure of American democracy and our historical success. The 3 pillars are the markets, the state, and the community. For the past few decades, we've focused really heavily on those first 2 pillars while quietly neglecting the third, the community, which is unfortunate because the community is the place where we develop our values, our discipline, our determination. And some community is where success begins, and increasingly where it's just no longer found. So how did this come about? Well, beginning in the 1990s, a coalition of Wall Street economists and financiers and politicians came together and they made us a promise. They promised us that a national economy and a global economy would bring prosperity to us all. In fact, Clinton was quoted saying that a national market could bring prosperity without leaving anyone behind. He promised prosperity the same way that Oprah promises everyone a car. It's just natural, everyone gets some. Well, that promise was broken, and we're seeing the impact in our communities today. We're watching our communities deteriorate, and that's what happens when you prioritize stock market gains and GDP growth over the heart of America, our small town communities and working class. And this is the impact we are seeing all over America. It's an epidemic and it's spreading. Today, union membership is at an all-time low at 7%. The average first-time home buyer is now an average of 38 years old as housing prices continue to grow. And this middle chart shows discrepancies between life expectancy between individuals with less than a high school degree and college graduates. That's a 20-year difference in how long you're going to live based on your education level, because historically it has brought economic security. And now, not so much, as individuals in America are currently facing $2.4 trillion in student debt. And it grows every day. I know it, you know it, we all know it. And we're all trying to get the exact same thing, this security that is lacking all around us. Because as factories shut down and jobs disappear, people stop reinvesting in the place where they're born, because who wants to build in an area where they don't think that they can grow in the future? So the wealthiest leave and bring their kids with them, schools decline, infrastructure deteriorates, and you're left with a shell of a community. And this is happening nationwide. But that's not really our focus, is it? We're not focusing on this. We're not focusing on watching the people around us because we become so blindsided. We become so blindsided about the issues that we face. This is our focus now. It's all over social media. It's all over every single news site that you see today. This insane polarization and a loss of civil discourse. Because politics have become essentially an ongoing fight. It's like being in a civil war where the bullets are slander campaigns and misinformation. You can look at two different tweets that are talking about the exact same thing, and the outcome is incredibly different. You'll watch public forums, even our local public forums, turn violent. You watch family and friends turn on each other because we've lost our ability to have productive discussion. And our issues that we're facing, we all understand we're facing issues in this country, but we're not working together to solve them. We're weaponizing them against each other. And so we've lost our ability to have collective action towards common issues. Suddenly, something as so simple as, I don't know, working together to have a community forum is violent. Public discourse is in disarray. Things like wearing a mask are now a political statement. And problems like climate change, we've made no progress, not because we lack the technology or innovation, we lack the will to work together. And that's really disappointing. It's a disappointing world to grow up in. It's disappointing to feel like your voice no longer matters on any level. So how do we solve this issue? Well, I know most of us have that same, maybe at home idea of, oh, we don't talk politics. We don't talk politics because it leads to violent outcries from friends and family. But it's more important that we teach the civil discourse that it's okay to disagree. And it's okay that we don't always think the same, especially because we have a connection to one another that matters more than whatever ideological belief that we align with. So we teach young individuals in school how to be productive within their communities, have productive civil discourse in the classroom, because these aren't things that you're born with. Everyone has to learn to get up here and speak. Everyone has to learn to be able to talk to their mom and dad about things that they don't agree on. But it's important that first and foremost, our connection to one another is placed as our priority. And then also, we must reinvigorate our communities. I want everyone to feel as strongly and have a sense of pride in their community as I do. I'm proud to be a part of Kansas City. I'm proud to be a student at UMKC. I feel connected to my community. And that's because of the opportunities that I have to engage with my community. And these opportunities need to be widespread. Furthermore, we need individuals to want to reinvest in their communities. And this means ensuring economic prosperity for individuals locally. And that doesn't mean from the top down we have new policies. It means we reinvigorate our communities to have a say in their own policies. I'm reminiscent with many of the hands-off campaigns that have gone on this year around the country. Because it doesn't matter the issue. Whether it be Social Security, education, climate change, deportations of students, it doesn't matter. Everyone was coming together because they know that something is fundamentally wrong, that somebody is taking over and overstepping where they should be. It's communities coming together to say, We must reclaim our power and rebuild from the bottom up. This renewal is what will create that shared identity again and make everyone feel, as I feel, being part of Kansas City and the Red Kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Reagan. And Reagan is a freshman from Lee Summit, majoring in history and is currently taking public speaking with Professor Rick Carpenter. We'll now welcome up to the front our final contestant, Erin Sang. Hello, test. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Whenever you're ready. Okay. COVID-19. Everybody knows what it is. Everybody's lived through it. Since the onset of the pandemic, COVID has made headlines and changed our lives in ways unimaginable. Over this year, there is another outbreak on the rise, and that is the flu. For the first time ever, flu cases have overtaken COVID cases. The influenza virus is the most devastating it has been yet, and we are still living through it. This season is still ongoing, and we are all prone to getting sick. That is why it is imperative now more than ever that we find protection in our health and safety. And the best way to do that is with a flu shot. Today, I will explore why a flu shot is so important and how it exactly helps us. I will be using information from the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, which is a US health agency. And the CDC recommends that everyone ages 6 months and older receive annual flu shots. And I urge all of you to get these shots because they not only reduce the risk of getting sick, they'll also reduce the likelihood of these symptoms getting worse. First, let's look at the immediacy of this outbreak. Like I mentioned, the flu season is at an all-time high right now. In an article published by NBC News, it stated that cases of influenza-like illnesses in hospitals and urgent care centers appear higher than they have been in almost 28 years. And in the week 6 report of the CDC, it stated that there have already been over 29 million cases of the flu, 370,000 hospitalizations, and over 16,000 deaths. And remember that this is from week 6. All of this took place within 6 weeks. Millions of Americans have already gotten sick. The question is, what makes us so different? The urgency of this matter is as present as it can be, so we must take action now in order to not raise these already staggering statistics to an even greater degree. So what can we do about this? Well, to combat the flu, we need to get a flu shot. But to understand how exactly a flu shot helps us, we need to know
what the flu does to us. So the flu is a virus. It is a pathogen that enters our body and infects our respiratory system, that is our nose, our throat, and our lungs. This causes symptoms like headaches, vomiting, nausea, among other and more severe conditions. What a flu shot does is it carries antibodies, and that when they are injected into us, these antibodies begin to develop within the next couple weeks. And these antibodies give us these protective proteins that are specifically designed to combat the flu. So what these proteins do is that when a flu enters your body, it first recognizes and identifies the flu, and then it prevents the flu from spreading by eliminating it. This greatly reduces the risk of you getting sick in the first place. A 2021 study by the CDC showed that there is a 26% lower risk of getting admitted into the ICU or intensive care unit, and a 31% lower risk of deaths when an adult was vaccinated versus when they were not. Vaccinations also show to have lower lengths of stay in the hospital, as well as shorter times of the sickness itself. However, this isn't to say that the flu is this one solution to all. Admittedly, you can still get sick even if you have the flu shot, and that is because, unfortunately, there are many more complications that come into this equation we have to consider. These are things such as different variations and strands of the virus that change year from year that we can't predict, as well as things like seasonal difference and the personal health of a patient. And this makes some people turn their head away from the flu shot, saying, well, it might not even work in the first place. Why bother? And the best response comes again from the CDC, where they say flu vaccinations are not a perfect tool, but it is the best way to protect against the infection. Despite all, flu shots still give us the best shot at not getting sick, so it is still in our interests to get them. Now, let's imagine this for a moment. Your friend greets you one day, and they have a slight cough on them. You think nothing of it, but the next morning you wake up and you have a cough yourself. And within the next couple of days, you start getting a terrible headache, and your cough starts to worsen because you have a sore throat now, and now your nose is running all over the place. You can't meet with friends because you have to social distance, but even before that, you find it hard to get out of bed because your muscles are in so much pain you can't really move around. You can't go to class, and while a lot of people might think of that as a blessing of sorts, imagine all the classes and lectures you're going to miss and have to catch up on later, all the assignments you're going to have to do at a later time. Now, who wants to go through that? Who would want to get sick? No one, right? Because it is frankly a terrible and tiring existence. However, it still happens. Whether we want to get sick or not, we do get sick. That is why we must seek the protection we need to get the flu shot now, and not later when we are sick, but now, so that we don't have to experience these things in the first place. I leave you today with a personal admittance of mine. I was actually sick myself not too long ago. It wasn't the flu, it was just a minor cold. But the irony doesn't escape me in the fact that I am here trying to present about keeping your own health and safety while I myself basically failed to do so. But I think this goes to show that Really, anybody at any time can get sick. And while I had a minor cold, there was nothing serious, another person could get serious complications because of the flu. And with how deadly this season is right now, with how many deaths and hospitalizations, it is critical that we seek all the protection that we can get. We are living through precarious times, no doubt, but I think we can find assurance in ourselves by first taking care of our health and of our safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And Aaron is a freshman, like the other three contestants tonight. And he's from Overland Park, Kansas, majoring in music performance with an emphasis in violin, and is currently taking public speaking with Professor Mike Schaefer. So we had 4 excellent speeches tonight, and that means that the judges now are working furiously to come up with who is going to be our winner tonight. That's not an easy task, and we've had a lot of help in putting together this contest. I want to thank our preliminary round judges, which were Dr. Jeff Gant-Schaefer and Dr. Sarah Jones. I also want to thank all of our instructors for our COM 110 class, our public speaking class. So Mike Schaefer, Dr. Linda Kurz, Joel Jenkins, Cassandra Farron, who is here tonight. Thank you for the wave. Joy Fuller, Tyler Birch, Rick Carpenter, Julie Day, and Tara Guthrie. Our chair, Dr. Ye Wong, is here too tonight. And also, I want to thank our administrative assistant for the department, Jennifer Underwood. You might have noticed that we have cameras rolling and we are on YouTube right now. That's thanks to my colleague, Professor Joshua Jackson, who is back there looking very busy on his laptop with headphones, and his team from the Media Lab. I'm going to take just a quick break for our judges to finish their tabulations, and then I'll be back with the announcement. Just one moment. Thank you for your patience while we tabulate these. I just want to make sure we get everything right. We had 4 excellent speeches tonight. Can we give another hand to everybody? I know that people don't want me to delay. I just want to say real quick here that it always strikes me how intelligent our students are and how engaged they are when I hear the topics. So we never have students come up and say, I want to do my speech on why butterflies are pretty or something like that. We have students do like cutting edge, serious, very right now topics. So everybody did a great job tonight and it made me so proud. As I said earlier, we're going to have 3 runners up. Each person is going to get $150 that'll be applied in terms of scholarship money. And then our top person will get a $300 scholarship. So I'll go ahead and announce who won tonight. So our first place goes to Natalie Keys. So, thank you all. If I could have all the contestants just meet with me real quick so I can get, as super nerdy as this sounds, a picture of you together, I would appreciate that. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening, and thank you for being here. Thank you to people on YouTube as well.